Lily Watson picked up Michael Smith after he'd been detained for 7 days. I've lost count of how many times this month I've had to come to the police station. When he saw me, he was unusually agitated, pulling me into a tight hug at once. Standing nearby were his secretary, Emily White, and her ex-husband. She saw me too, shrinking her shoulders and edging closer to her ex, which made Michael's face harden with discomfort. He grabbed my wrist and practically dragged me to the car, leaving a deep red mark, but I didn't flinch. Behind us, Emily kept chasing the car, shouting. Michael didn't look back once, chattering about funny office stories from the past week, though his hands rubbed together nervously. He kept glancing in the rearview mirror, his eyes betraying obvious worry. When Emily stumbled and fell due to our speed, Michael finally snapped. His eyes blazing, stopped the car. Before it fully halted, he leaped out and scooped her up, his gaze full of tenderness. Whatever he said made Emily's tear-streaked face brighten into a smile. The sight pierced me. 2 weeks ago in the hospital, I'd already felt our distance growing. I'd been arranging flowers at home when the hospital called. Michael had gotten into a fight and was seriously injured. Rushing there, I found Emily sobbing in his arms, repeating "I'm sorry." I knew it had to do with her. After the police took Emily's statement, we were alone. Michael's face was covered in cuts, his forehead stitched 3 times. "Sorry, Lily. Didn't mean to worry you again," he said guiltily, reaching for a hug. I stepped back. He'd always been like this, quick to jump into trouble. Always the one left bloody. We'd first met in an alley near campus, when he'd charged in to protect me from a group of guys. Even though he'd gotten beaten badly, I'd never forgotten his fearless look or how he'd later studied hard for me. "Don't be scared. I'll always protect you," he'd promised. Now, though, the one he rushed to protect was someone else. Emily had started at the company last month. Gorgeous. She'd drawn plenty of attention and quickly rose through the ranks. Michael had complained about her constantly, calling her a vase, clueless, even dropping details about her early dropout and personal history. He brushed it off as standard HR questionnaires for new hires, so I didn't think much of it. Until one day I brought him lunch and found him scolding Emily, "You can't even sort a simple spreadsheet? What can you do?" His tone was harsh, but he was carefully teaching her. In the break room, a colleague asked me, eyes sly, "Lily, isn't Emily stunning?" "She is," I said, not sure where this was going. "Beauty's useless when you're divorced with a kid," the colleague whispered as I made coffee. I left without responding. That night, I found Michael on a video call with Emily. She was asking basic questions any intern should know, but he sighed and explained them patiently, just like he'd once done for me. Later, as I leaned against him, he griped, "Such a waste of good looks. If she's so incompetent, why hire her?" I asked. He hesitated, avoiding eye contact. "HR's decision, I guess." Felt bad for her situation. I dismissed it. Handsome men always had admirers, and her messy divorce seemed like a dead end. How wrong I was. On Emily's birthday, I got an anonymous text. "Watch out for the new girl at work." Attached was a photo, Emily beaming with a cake, Michael looking at her the way he'd once looked at me. No filters, her beauty still striking. He'd mentioned the office party that morning, but I couldn't shake the unease. When I visited his office the next day, everyone greeted me warmly as Lily, including Emily. Her smile didn't reach her eyes, sharp, calculating. To my shock, her desk had been moved into Michael's office, facing his. "I thought you liked quiet," I said. "She has too many questions," he muttered, face rigid. He'd once refused to let me get a cat for being too noisy. Now he babbled excuses, avoiding her gaze to reassure me. I thought that was the end of it until I stopped a junior staffer. Busy social calendar lately? I asked. Yeah. We had a party last Friday. Mr. Smith works so hard, you should cut him some slack. Lily, they said. Every employee I asked gave the same evasive answer. That's when the stab hit. I'd assumed this was just a phase until Michael got into a fight over Emily. The day I bailed him out. The wind cut through me. My stomach aching. Turns out, Emily's ex had refused their divorce unless she paid him monthly, then gambled the money away. When she refused to pay that day, he'd beaten her. Michael had rushed over. And they'd brawled. Neighbors called the cops before it got worse. As he rambled excuses, his eyes never left Emily. He dragged me to the car roughly, distracted by her every flinch. Now, I truly lost count of his arrests. He came home late that night. I'd reheated dinner 3 times. When he slid into bed, I pretended to sleep. The scent of unfamiliar perfume clung to him. His phone buzzed. Glancing at me, he tiptoed out to answer. Through the door, I heard a child's excited voice and Emily's laugh. Warm and familiar. They talked for so long I forgot we were the ones married. Soon, Michael caught a cold but refused to see a doctor, insisting on going to work. I picked up meds at the clinic and saw Emily there. Michael holding a little girl's hand. All 3 laughing like a family. Lily? A tall, bespectacled man stepped toward me. Wow. It is you. I wasn't sure from afar. Everything okay? You look under the weather, Andrew Leong said. Stepping closer. Andrew had been my college classmate, more than that. Once. But after Michael, I distanced myself from all male friends. Now, I wondered if that sacrifice had been worth it. Michael, hearing my name, turned sharply. I panicked, instinctively hiding behind Andrew. Why did I feel guilty when I'd done nothing wrong? Come on, sweetie, Michael cooed, hoisting the little girl with a warm smile. They walked away, chatting animatedly. Before we married, Michael had insisted he wanted just us 2 for a while. No kids. I'd thought he disliked children. Even lied to his parents that I wasn't ready. Now I saw the truth, he didn't want my kids. Tears began to fall unbidden. Hey, what's wrong? Modern medicine's amazing, whatever it is. We'll fix it. And if money's an issue, I hugged him tightly, craving the brief comfort he offered. When I got home, Michael was cooking. His eyes widened at the pharmacy bag in my hand. Are you sick? He asked. His voice tense. I shook my head, forcing a smile. You had a cold this morning, so I picked up some meds. At the word pharmacy, his shoulders relaxed. Such a sweetheart, he murmured, pulling me close. You were up late last night. Didn't you notice you were getting sick? He avoided my gaze. I let it go, though the suspicion lingered like a splinter. Michael tiptoed around me for days. Even skipped work. Just as I thought things might mend. He abandoned me again. We'd planned to visit my parents. But en route, his phone rang. It was his childhood friend. Loud enough for me to hear. Michael, get over here. Emily's in trouble. These clients are forcing her to drink. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Baby. We're almost at my parents', I said flatly. He hit the brakes suddenly. My forehead slammed into the dashboard. Blood trickling down. But Michael didn't notice. Already out the door. I'll explain later, he called. Sprinting away. For a moment, I was back in college, watching him run across campus to buy my favorite snacks. Grinning and sweaty. Now, that energy was reserved for someone else. My parents berated me for hours, saying I couldn't keep a man's heart. Michael didn't call for days. Days later, A client's wife, Mrs. Lee, invited me for tea. There, I saw Michael, Emily, and the little girl, laughing like a family. I stood frozen, nails digging into my palms. They do look like a perfect trio, don't they? Mrs. Lee said bluntly. You're smart, you know why I asked you here. Michael canceled our partnership over Emily. She accused my husband of harassment. And he believed her without question. Ridiculous. Isn't it? I stared, stunned. Was Michael willing to destroy his career, everything we'd built, for her? A bitter laugh escaped me. Women should live for themselves. Lily. Always putting others first, well, you end up hurt, she said softly. True to her word. Michael soon canceled deals with all our allied companies. The Smith Corporation hemorrhaged millions. I went to the office, desperate to intervene. As I entered the lobby, a man shouted, "That's my ex-wife. She's sleeping with your CEO." He ranted. Wild-eyed, Michael Smith steals other men's wives. What a sleazebag! I froze, blood draining from my face. Security. Remove him, a manager barked. Even as they dragged him away. His jeers echoed, cheating scumbag. Whore. After reviewing the financial records, I tried to apologize to the Lees, but they refused to meet. I wandered, exhausted, recalling our early days when I'd mortgaged my savings to fund his startup, cold calling investors while he swore we'd share every triumph. Now, that promise felt tainted. At home, Michael waited on the couch, furious. You saw Emily's ex today. What did you say to him? Nothing. Nothing? Then why did he attack her? Lily, go apologize to Emily. Now. Apologize? I wanted to laugh, but my throat was too tight. I won't confess to things I didn't do. Michael. He looked at me like I was a stranger. You've changed. Lily, he said, storming out. Andrew called a few days later. You seemed off at the hospital. Everything okay? I'm fine. Thanks. Awkward silence hung between us. We were grabbing lunch when Michael walked in, flanked by clients. Andrew Leong. High school and college classmate, Andrew greeted warmly, offering a hand. Michael ignored it, staring at me. Lily, we're having a business lunch. Join us? I knew what he wanted, to use my connections. Reluctantly, I stayed. The clients' attitudes shifted instantly, chatting with me like old friends. Emily and Michael sat silent, forced to sip wine as the men ignored them. As we finished, Michael leaned in, Mr. Wong, about our partnership. Let's discuss it another time, the man said dismissively. Everyone in our circle knew about Michael and Emily. They tolerated him, but no one respected him. Thanks for nothing, Michael muttered later. I went to so much trouble. And you couldn't even seal the deal? His tone was accusing, as if I were the problem. He still couldn't see how far he'd fallen. Michael's parents had been badgering us for grandchildren, so I finally agreed to a fertility check at their recommended clinic. The tests show nothing wrong with you, the doctor said firmly, handing me the report. Mrs. Smith's face fell. What are you implying? That my son has issues? She snapped. If you doubt the results, feel free to get a second opinion, the doctor replied coolly. I tugged at her arm, embarrassed. Truth was, I'd been the only one to see Michael's prenuptial medical report. I'd hidden his results to spare his pride. I'm filing a complaint. Let go of me, she protested. Mom, didn't you have a mahjong date with Mrs. Lin? You should go, I said, steering her toward the door. She huffed, then suddenly brightened, waving at someone behind me. I turned to find Michael, Emily, and the little girl standing there. Michael avoided my gaze. Mom? What are you doing here? You two are the problem. Married for years. No kids in sight, she chided, eyeing my stomach. Then her face softened at the girl. Say Grandma. Sweetie, Emily prompted. Hi. Grandma, the girl chirped. Mrs. Smith beamed. Good girl. So polite. I watched in silence. Acid rising in my throat. All these years. She'd longed for a grandchild, but it took someone else's child to bring that joy. Michael glanced at me. Tense. Let me drive you home. Lily. He held my hand tightly, while still clutching the girl's. I almost laughed. How had I never noticed his talent for theatrics? His childhood friend, David, was with them and offered to drive me instead. I nodded. The car was stiflingly quiet until David turned off the radio. Ever get the feeling they're the real family? He asked bluntly. Look. I'm Michael's oldest friend. I want him happy. After high school, he was a mess. His first love had to drop out suddenly, family issues. He searched for her for years. Then he met you. I thought he'd moved on until Emily reappeared. Some bonds can't be replaced. I stared, stunned. Michael had never mentioned this. I'd asked once, but he'd brushed it off. Emily's not as privileged as you, not as educated. But she gets him. When he drinks himself sick, she's there. When he hits rock bottom, she's the one making him smile, even using her own connections to save his deals. They're finally back together. If your family hadn't pressured him into marrying you, my chest ached. So I was the villain who'd torn them apart. Back then, I'd thought he loved me. I'd begged my parents to help his startup. They'd funded his company. Bought our house. Was that pressure? David added quietly. I sent you that anonymous text. I hoped you'd step back so they could be happy. Step back? I was already drowning. At home, Michael was pacing, ranting about a colleague. That traitor Jeff. Sabotaging my deals. Once, I'd have rushed to fix things. Now, I walked past him to our room. I thought we'd hit rock bottom. I was wrong. One evening, returning home, a stone whizzed past my head, splitting my forehead. You're a mean auntie. You stole my daddy, a boy screamed, grabbing another rock. I caught it, tossing it aside. He burst into tears. I didn't need to guess who'd taught him this. Emily emerged, feigning concern. What's going on here? Mommy. She called me a bastard and said I don't belong here. Lily. This is between us. Leave a child out of it, Emily said softly. Mrs. Smith chimed in, shame on you. Picking on a kid. Michael rounded on me, Lily. Apologize. Now. I laughed hollowly. Had he ever trusted me? The boy says Michael's his father. Care to explain your illegitimate child? Michael? He stammered. Emily interjected, he's just confused. Honey. Let's not. I'll remind you, I cut in. Infidelity voids our prenup. You'd get nothing from this house. Think carefully. Emily paled. As I'd suspected, she was growing impatient. Emily confronted me at my office. Ms. Watson. I assume you know the truth by now. Michael and I were together in high school. When my family went bankrupt, I left to spare him the burden. I tried to stay away after he married you. But we can't fight our feelings. He acted cruel to punish me. But he still loves me. Look at you, successful. Independent. Can't you give him back to me? I stared, speechless at her audacity. Did she think my life had been handed to me? Funny. Emily. I heard a different version of why you dropped out. Her confidence wavered. After David's confession, I'd hired a PI. Turns out, she'd gotten pregnant by a wealthy classmate, dumped Michael, and married the father for money. Only Michael was blind to it. Before she could retort, a burly man, her ex-husband, Jake, stormed in, swinging a fist at her. I tried to intervene, but he shoved me into a desk. Pain exploded in my side as they fought. Through the haze, I saw Michael, bloodied, tackling Jake, then rushing to Emily, ignoring me. The last thing I heard was her smirk, "Guess who he'll choose?" I woke to the doctor's voice. The steel rod damaged her uterus. "We'll need further tests to assess fertility." "Mrs. Smith wailed, "The Smith line ends here. I told you to divorce her." "Now look." Michael ushered her out, murmuring comforts. When we were alone, I opened my eyes, staring at his guilt-ridden face. "Lily, we'll have kids someday." "Michael, let's get a divorce." He froze. "What? You're joking." The panic in his eyes was real. "Rest now. We'll talk later." He didn't visit again until my discharge. I had my lawyer send multiple divorce petitions. At tea with Mrs. Lee, my phone rang. Michael's voice erupted. "You're serious? Who'll want a barren woman like you? This is all your fault. Emily's in the hospital because of you." I clenched my jaw. "The divorce is happening. Michael. It's over." I emptied our villa of my belongings, leaving the house my parents had bought. At the Smith family home, I heard laughter. Emily nestled beside Mrs. Smith, acting like a devoted daughter. "Ms. Watson." Emily paled. "Don't coddle her. She's not family anymore." Mrs. Smith snapped. "Michael's serious injury?" "A tiny cut on his chin." "Typical." I grabbed my old laptop from my childhood room, ignoring their stares. As I left, I dropped the villa keys on the table. "Wait. We need to inventory. This house is in my name, bought by my parents." "Goodbye," I said, relishing their stunned silence. Under pressure from his mother and Emily, Michael signed the divorce papers. They married within days, adopting her son officially. Emily's texts reeked of triumph. "See? I'm Mrs. Smith now. All this is mine. White moonlight always wins." I sent back a news clip. "Smith Corp declares bankruptcy." The collapse had made headlines. Ex-colleagues flooded my inbox with investment offers. But I declined. I was done with Michael's legacy. The senior executives I'd mentored quit en masse, disgusted by Emily's influence. Michael begged for help, even invoking my name. But no one cared. A screaming match with Emily followed. Mrs. Smith bribed her to stay. But the cracks were irreversible. With debts mounting, Michael lost both homes. They moved into a tiny apartment, fighting daily. One day, Jake cornered Michael, spilling Emily's entire scheme, how she'd used him for status, lied about her past, even provoked his mother against me. Michael showed up at my door, disheveled, unshaven, hair matted, eyes hollow. "I'm sorry. I was blind. I love you. Always have. Please forgive me." His tears felt too little, too late. Wounds like these don't heal with apologies. I didn't accept his plea, but I didn't reject it either. Andrew Lynn, Mrs. Lee's husband, acquired Smith Corp, rebranding it under his empire. Before the sale, I'd sold my shares at a loss. With one condition: purge all new hires. Keep only my trusted veterans. I packed for Tibet, finally chasing the adventures I'd sacrificed for Michael. Before leaving, I mailed Mrs. Smith a copy of Michael's fertility report, the proof I'd hidden for years. Let her rage. It no longer mattered. As I texted Andrew Leong photos of snow-capped mountains, I smiled. For the first time in years, I felt free.